Hey there, my name's Danny Liebrent, and you are listening to The Local Marketeer, where we have local marketing experts every week. Today, I'm with Sean. I'm sorry, I forgot how to pronounce your last name. How is it? Akyildiz?
Akyildiz, yeah,
Akyildiz.
beautiful.
I'm with Sean Akyildiz. Sorry again about your last name.
No,
Also known as Zorro the Wiz or Zorro. Sean is very big in personal branding and AI, and me and Sean actually go way back. So this is awesome to finally meet him in person. We've known each other online for a few years now. We met on Twitter. Both were kind of building our personal brands at the same time. And we actually started a software company together. Was that over a year ago at this point?
that was March of 2023. We were talking about Pegasus, right?
Yeah.
March of 2023.
Yeah, wow, that's insane.
It
So
is. It was a while
basically
ago.
2 years ago, we started a software company. We grew to a few $1,000s a month, but it ended up falling through for various reasons. But either way, that was an awesome project. We've been good friends. We've stayed in touch. So this is the first time that we've actually met in person. And, I thought, why not do a podcast together? So glad to have you on the show, Sean, and talk about, personal branding, AI, marketing, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm super happy to be here. Finally made it out the group chat, and it's super rare and super far and few between that I actually get to make face-to-face contact with somebody that I meet online, especially after so many years of knowing each other. I feel like most relationships, honestly, that you have, it's like you have little periods of actually just knowing somebody for a while where you're in constant contact with them. And then, as time goes on, especially since it's online, you grow apart, you start doing your own things. But we've been in straight contact. Like, I don't think it's really, fizzled out at any point or anything like that. And it's like, we're finally here, bro.
No, it's awesome, man. It's so cool. So for people that don't know, I'd like to kind of cover your journey. So I think a good place to start would be the stuff that you're doing regarding NFTs, crypto. Talk to me about that time in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I probably got into cryptocurrency and NFTs and all that stuff around 2021, November, when the bull market was super big, everything like that. And then leading into 2022, I got in touch with a really big influencer in the space. And I remember I had bought his NFT. I ran into some issues getting into the group, the community thing, and I hit him up on Twitter. And eventually I kind of worked my way under his wing, and we helped launch another project of his, and it did over 7 figures in revenue. So that was like my first real big taste of success in that space. That was probably March of 2022 or so. And then moving on past there, you had like the summer of 2022. I was still focused on a lot of the NFT stuff. And then August, September of 2022, we actually tried to start a software in the NFT space, which was interesting. There's like a whitelist giveaway software. But into that later of 2022 period, I started my first kind of agency, but it wasn't really an agency. It was more so like a glorified freelance covered up as an agency. There was no LLC or anything like that. I was like, yeah, it's an agency. But after that, I started working with a bunch of different projects. I built up a bunch of connections in that space, started leveraging those to market projects, push a bunch of traffic to them, and help them launch. But going into 2023, it was weird because we had one of our most successful months in around March or April of that year. We did about $40,000, which was really good. But that whole space, honestly, just burnt me out big time. Like I didn't feel like I was launching anything that actually had any value. I didn't feel like a lot of the projects that were popping up had any value. And I just didn't feel like I was progressing as, a business owner, and I didn't feel like I was building any actual skills. So luckily, one of the people that I had met in that space, she was doing AI development for a Series D biotech company. They raised over $300 million in funding. And so she started teaching me a lot of stuff about AI. And around that time, I started creating more and more content as well. And that's when my content started to take off. I was creating a lot of content around AI, mainly just like AI news at the time. And I had my first viral video, did like 3 million views. I got so many followers from it, like probably like 30,000, 40,000 followers from that video alone. It was nuts. And then we started, working one-on-one with businesses that she had introduced us to. And this was with my old business partner at the time. And slowly, we kind of started moving into that B2B business, like AI implementation space. Started off super simple, like Zapier automations, really basic stuff, because we had no idea what we were doing at the time. But that being said, over time, we started working on bigger and bigger projects. When I get into something, I kind of go a little nuts with it. So it's like, over a few months, the progress and, just like the type of stuff that I was building is just exponential in terms of like difficulty and everything like that. Long story short, late 2023, I ended up splitting with my old business partner just because we had different visions for what we wanted to do, and then he wasn't holding up his side of things. And so I partnered up with 2 other guys, started working with a bunch of creators in the space, built our agency up to $30,000, $40,000 a month, and I worked with them for a long time. And then eventually I just decided I wanted to go solo. Some things weren't aligning again. They were moving kind of more into an info coaching aspect of things. So they wanted to do coaching rather than run the B2B side of things. I think we could have done like really good as an agency, and I like the B2B. So I split from them, started my own thing, and that's pretty much what I've been doing ever since. So
that's awesome. And I'm curious, why do you like the agency space? Because I know a lot of people that actually hate the agency space. They're trying to look into e-com or info or SaaS or other kinds of companies. I feel like agency is kind of looked down upon now. Most people don't want to do it. So why do you like it?
Yeah, I feel like the main reason it's looked down upon is because there's a lot of low-quality agencies out there. On the B2B side, the main reason business owners look down on agencies because there's a lot of low-quality agencies, and it's that same thing where it's like they say they're an agency, but it's like one dude. It's just like a freelance operation, And then on the actual like other, I feel like it's just like a money thing. You could drop a course on anything. You could drop a course on breathing air and pull in $1 million. Like,
True.
And I don't know. I think the biggest thing for me is there's a part of me that doesn't, it's stupid to take the moral high ground because it's like, it doesn't make you any better than anybody else. But also I just feel like there's a part of me that has so much to learn, and I am so far from where I want to be. So it's like, I don't feel right being like, hey, you want to start this new business model, AI agency? Like, dude, first 10K a month, I'll teach you how. It's like, there's so much I'm learning, and like I just don't feel right taking people's money trying to teach them about that stuff. And also, I just like working B2B because it's my business and then a business that's already providing value to other people. So if I can help them provide more value and also just make them happy, like it makes me feel good. Honestly, like seeing them happy with the stuff that we build. And yeah, I just enjoy working business to business. Like it's cool making those connections, and I just feel like I'm really building something that's actually valuable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also to that point, building an agency is kind of the safer route to start out because it's already established businesses that you're helping. When I was starting as an entrepreneur the first year or so, I was really struggling because I was trying to build my own business, which is really hard. If you're trying to build like a serious e-com store, dude, there are so many different skills that you need to learn. Email marketing, ads, SEO, website, all of these different skills. You have no idea how to do anything when you're just starting out. So I think that actually is the move for anyone that is maybe just getting into online business and that kind of thing, is start freelancing or start your own agency or work at someone else's agencies. That's even like even farther into it, working at someone else's agency. Because then you learn at the inner workings of their agency, helping other companies. So I completely agree with that, and I see that angle. Something I'd also like you to touch on, which I think is relevant to the show and our relationship, is I'd like you to talk about the software company that we started for a little bit, Pegasus UGC, and which actually turned into Virality.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh man. So initially we had, I think really like the biggest hole in the market, or I guess the problem we were trying to solve, was we were trying to help UGC creators land more clients, which honestly I think that's still a relative, I think that's still a big problem, because even one of my current clients, like he talks about this all the time because he's a creator himself. It's a software company. It's called asa.ai. And he's a really big creator himself, and he comes from kind of that, he's got like 11 mil on TikTok. Massive.
Wow.
Yeah, but he comes from that creator background, and so he's used to these deals. And like one of the biggest things he understands is, a lot of these creators that create these videos don't actually charge as much as they could be charging, especially with like a lot of these bigger companies. They get kind of cheaped out. And that was like the biggest thing, is these people know how to make videos that sell, and they know how to make videos for these companies, but they don't know how to actually find these companies or approach them. So initially it was kind of like a hybrid between you can scrape leads, I think was kind of the idea. You can scrape like company leads, and then you could use AI to like craft outreach campaigns to them. I think that was like the main thing. That was like, I'm trying to remember, it's so long ago now. And then
Yeah.
as it progressed, we UGC creators. Oh man, I'm just not even gonna start. I know what happened to our co-founder when we got into that, but it's just like it's also a really hard market to please in terms of product, and so yeah, it wasn't really working in terms of like the actual people we were reaching out to. Like our ICP wasn't really business oriented. Like it was a B2B software in a way, and yeah, the target market wasn't really business oriented. Like it didn't really make sense. Didn't seem to be much interest from them, and so we moved kind of a little broader to like the actual personal branding aspect of things. So like being able to track your social media analytics, generating short form scripts and short form posts with the software using like fine-tuned AI models. And I know we partnered up with like Nick Rogers and Logan Fitzmyer at Launch Socials as well to initially start building it out. But
yeah. So that was kind of an interesting journey. I think that took a lot of our time. It was a good learning experience, and it wasn't like we made $0. I think we made at least a few $1,000s, and that was definitely cool bringing on two pretty big co-founders. So for people that aren't familiar, again, like he said, we brought on Nick and Logan, who ran a successful social media kind of scaling company at the time, worth over $1 million. Both of them have a lot of social media followers. They've helped a lot of people grow. So I think the idea was actually great. The product was getting there, but really we were lacking resources in terms of time and capital. Really, all of us were completely stretched on time. We were all really running our own businesses. Like I had my own agency, you had your own agency, Carson had his own agency, and then the two guys that we brought on, they had their own company. So all of us were strapped for time, and then all of us, although we were doing pretty well, didn't have a lot of capital to deploy. And at the same time, once we started bringing those guys on, maybe the last few months of the company or so, then we started seeing bigger and bigger companies start to implement the same thing. So I think we were kind of early in a sense. If we did have the right resources, it would have worked out. It was actually, I think it was a great idea in terms of like content creators being almost like an all-in-one solution. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out.
I think for a lot of companies now, especially going into 2025, it's not going to matter anyways. I think we're going to see a lot of AI UGC is like a really big thing. I put out a video in 2023. This was before I initially went viral, and I was talking about this account on TikTok. It was like this Santa AI account, and it had amassed like 150,000 followers, and I think they were like selling merch and everything like that. Like these guys were capitalizing off this AI Santa avatar. And I remember the video, I was like, are we going to see AI influencers eventually? And you're getting into 2025, and we've tested with, like, I can go into extensive detail about this, but we've been testing with AI avatars. And there's a lot of different software coming out, especially that is focused on UGC. There's this one, what's it called? I think it's called LipDub AI. And, you can take a 10-second, like, UGC video, and the lip syncing is so good that you can't even tell, like, it's dubbed over. And you could make, a video about any product basically. And there's so many of these AI like generated influencers and UGC creators. And this isn't, I don't really care all that much, honestly. But this isn't like dig at any market or anything. But in my experience, UGC creators can be hard to deal with, like really, really difficult people to deal with. And a lot of companies, whether it's for better or worse, or like however you look at it, a lot of companies are going to look at that and it's like, all right, cool. We don't have to, pay somebody and wonder whether or not they're going to deliver, or we can test 6-7 different hooks with this one creator and this one product and this one script. We can test like that basically, and it's going to cost us 1/10 of what we would pay an actual creator. We can get the result instantly. We don't have to wait we don't have to pay extra for usage rights. We don't have to wait for all the stuff to come back from that creator. It's like the actual logistics and the ease of use, especially as the technology progresses. Companies are just going to opt for these AI influencers or avatars to promote their products, and we're already starting to see it, which is nice.
It's insane. And this is definitely something that I want to touch on because it's so fascinating in one aspect, but it's so scary in another. It's like, are we just going to have no employees at some point? Because you have to think about it from a capitalistic and business owner perspective. Like we're both business owners. We understand that you're going to cut costs whenever possible. So if you're paying, like let's say a company has a UGC creator full time, what you're paying them 50K a year, 100K a year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, boom. Now that's maybe like 1,000 a year.
Yeah.
From a business sense, especially if you can split test and you can have endless content from that creator, that is really scary, man. And I think a lot of people didn't think that the AI would be there yet. That, okay, we can do basic content creation. Okay, it can make like 1,000 blogs and the blogs are decent, or maybe just like a decent social post. But the UGC creators, I think a lot of people actually aren't aware of that. Can you talk about that a little bit more and like what that would look like?
Yeah, so like one company we work with, for example, they're an ads agency. They run ads for e-commerce brands. And one of the things we had done was we built out like a custom ads generator for them. It wasn't anything super crazy. It was just using Airtable, some no-code automation tools, and then Claude kind of as our model. Gemini as well, actually. Gemini is pretty cool because you can analyze image and video. So they'd create a new ad, and if they had one as reference, it'd be able to download that video and visually see like what's happening inside of the video and use that as reference for actually crafting the next ad, which was cool. But going into that, it's like the actual ad generation aspect was done. Now we're moving into AI agents, where it's like on a daily basis, these agents will go through their clients, like the actual winning ads from that client, and then create new ads on top of that, and then just add them to their ClickUp or whatever. And I guess building on top of that, the next step there would be, all right, cool, we have this ad now, and like obviously the best performing ads are UGC because people see a person that they identify with. And the next step of that would be, all right, ad has the approval, let's generate a video now. And it's like you have 3 separate videos. Maybe you want to split test this many different hooks. All you have to do is click a button, and that video is generated with that script, with that person talking. You see a bunch of different software that's doing it too, like Heygen, 11 Labs for the actual voiceover aspect of things. I've even tested it with my own account. Like I have a Heygen avatar that we occasionally make videos with, and if you do it right, oh my gosh, like the actual video itself, like the voice, you can't tell that that's AI at all. The video, it's 95% of the way there. There's a few aspects where it's like, okay, maybe that's a little weird looking, but that's why you have editors. Like you just throw some B-roll over it, and it's like no one can tell. And you can't say it doesn't perform or that people won't like AI content, because I've seen the exact opposite. I think out of my 10 best performing videos in the last 2 months, almost half of them are AI, like completely AI generated, and they've also generated the most leads too.
What?
And this is on like my Instagram profile, and they're not viral videos by any means. Like one of them has like 10,000 views, and then it has like 300 likes or whatever. But for an AI generated video that I put 0 time into, like and that one got me, I think like 6 or 7 qualified leads. And I even tested it with a buddy of mine. So my buddy, his name is Carson, and I put him onto a lot of the AI avatar stuff. And he created an avatar that wasn't even that good. Like you can definitely tell it's AI. Like it's weird looking, right? But he posted a video on LinkedIn, which is where he gets a lot of his clients. So like that's like his main acquisition channel. And normally his posts get like 3 to 5 likes, and this post got 60 like interactions and engagements. And that week they closed 3 new deals, and one of them was a 7-figure deal with a publicly traded company that's worth over $20 billion in market cap, bro. Like at the end of the day, I think the main thing that I've come to realize is no one cares if it's AI or not. It really just comes down to the fundamentals. Like, is this video entertaining? Does it have a good hook? Does it have a good script? Does it have a good concept or idea? Is it controversial enough to like get people emotional? Like, it doesn't matter if it's AI, really. It just comes back down to the fundamentals of copywriting or just creating like good creative content in general, which it's scary. It is really scary.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, bro.
No, I know.
It's scary, man.
Okay, wait. I want to dive into that a little bit because honestly, I'm still fairly unfamiliar, but I think some people have no idea what you're talking about. So something like that, of making like an AI video on your Instagram, like what does that entail? What does that look like? How do you make it? Tell me all about
That's
it.
a good question. So really, you're gonna need 2 software. I'm just gonna like simplify it as much as possible. I won't talk about automating the process. I can give like a high level overview, but going into depth, like this module, use this. But so initially, you're gonna need 2 different software. The first is Heygen, and then the second software is 11 Labs. Now with Heygen, I think you only need 4 or 5 minutes of raw video to actually create an avatar. Now, a lot of people botch this process because they don't put a lot of effort into creating the avatar, or they do it wrong. They'll look away or like do something stupid during the video, and then it comes out looking weird. So it might take you a few tries to actually get the avatar down. If your first one comes out and you create like a video with it, and you're like, bro, I look stupid, and it's like, don't beat yourself up. It takes a few tries, but once you do have one that you really like, Heygen, as good as it is in the actual like video aspect, it really lacks in the voice department. So you can 100% tell it's like, this is my video. It's like so bad.
Yeah.
And, so that's where 11 Labs comes in. So 11 Labs, it's like the $5.99 a month plan or $11.99 a month. They have something called like professional voice cloning. So you have an instant voice clone, which is where you get it back in a few minutes, and it's okay, but it's not good. The professional voice cloning, the minimum you can upload in terms of audio is like 10 minutes. Recommended is 30 minutes, and then you can actually upload up to 3 hours of audio. And this is like the quality of it is, you cannot tell that it's an actual like, AI creating it. So what the process might look like is we have automated like ideation systems. So I have what's called an RSS feed set up, and it's monitoring all of my competitors. So whenever they post, it's sent directly to this feed. We can basically see which videos are outliers in terms of performance. So if somebody in my niche that's a direct competitor posts a video about AI UGC creators, and it's like really an outlier, okay, this video is doing, crazy views compared to what they usually get in like this type of time frame, we'll typically take that concept, obviously not just straight rip it, and just, I like to script myself still for the most part, because it's honestly a skill that I'm really trying to build up. Like it's very hard to actually script, and I just want to get better at it. So typically I'll take that concept, think about how I could potentially, add my own style to it, because I have a very interesting style, maybe a little unprofessional at times, a little raunchy, but that's okay. That's just the content I like making. Add my style, think about how I might go about doing it differently. Maybe they have a step-by-step process that I think is not the best way to go about it. Write my script, and then typically I'll have that script inside of our content system, which is in Airtable. I can click a button. It sends it to it sends it to 11 Labs API, and it creates the actual voice like transcription. And then from that, I can send it directly to Heygen, which actually creates the avatar video. And typically for that, I'll create like 2 different ones just to give the editors something to play with, just in case like on one there's like a weird part where it does like a weird face or something like that, just to really give them some variety in terms of like the facial expressions and everything. And then I just wait for them to get it back to me and I post it.
Insane, man. Yeah, so I'm not really doing any of that stuff. I'm more so on like the SEO, still like real content side, but I still find that stuff so interesting. And I think by the end of the year, for sure, by the end of 2025, it's gonna be like perfect, which is just so scary. Like how rapidly it's moving and progressing.
It is, bro.
And
Yeah.
I kind of just want to get your insight into that. Like, what do you think the future is going to look like? Because I think AI is an equalizer in a way that everyone will kind of have these tools, at least to a certain extent. But just what will business look like with AI and basically taking over most jobs?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, anyone who says they know is a liar. Anyone like, I don't even like, Sam Altman or the people at the very top of these have no idea what's coming. Like nobody knows what we're going to come across or how this is all going to play out. That being said, I think the biggest thing is going to be like learning the skill for yourself. I think it's going to be invaluable, like actually knowing the skill, but also B, just having real expertise in your market, because so beforehand, like before AI, you had everybody, let's just say you gave everyone in the world like an assignment to write like an email or something like that. 95% of people aren't going to be good at writing an email because they just aren't. AI's leveled the playing field in that it gives people the tools to write better emails, but now everybody's writing better emails, so that's like the new minimum. So I really think the biggest thing is like having actual expertise in your market, because like for me, for example, you see a lot of those videos on social media where it's like, this is how I use AI to write my viral scripts. And it's like, now I have this viral script that's ready to post. Even I've made those videos. Like, I'm not gonna try and point the finger at, because it's like first video you see on my YouTube channel. It's like, great viral scripts. But that being said, I think like anybody who looks at those scripts, like for beginners, they might be decent scripts. But if you know what you're doing with content creation, you take a look at it and you could tear it apart immediately, right? Because it's it's AI, and like you know immediately how you can add things that would make the video viral or make the video perform better. And so at the end of the day, I think it'll all come back to the basics and how well you can master those, like and your own creativity, especially learning AI as a skill and learning how to build these agents and everything like that. Really, the sky's the limit in terms of your business. And last thing I'd say is, like, as somebody who works with this every day, like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm really scared of what this is doing, because like I just see how quickly advancements come, and it's like always in my face every day. Like, I'm deep in that market, and it is horrifying. Like at this point, like, part of me is like, dude, everybody's getting replaced. Like we're all screwed. But it's scary. But I really think the best thing you could do to like position yourself is get familiar with the technology, know how to use it properly. If you don't, hire somebody that does, and just get your fundamentals down and really like get good at it, what it is that you do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been giving this a lot of thought. I just watched a recent Alex Hormozi podcast. I think it was on Tom Bilyeu, or however you pronounce his name.
That's right, yeah.
2-hour podcast, really good. You guys should watch if you haven't seen it. Kind of because it gave me a lot to think about. I think in terms of longevity, I think the two things that will mainly stay are AI experts and big brands. And not necessarily big brands, but just like established brands, because it comes down to trust in a sense, where people are always going to choose the brands that they trust, but the brands are likely going to have AI experts within them. So, I want to be the number one guy in pest control SEO. So people are going to come to me, and we're going to be using a lot of AI within our agency versus them trying to do it themselves. So at least the way that I like to frame it for the next few years or so is that AI is a tool. Like it's not like its own thing yet. You can't just like hire an AI robot. There might be an AI marketplace. So that I think things could actually go that way too. That's something interesting to think about. But right now, you need people that are experts in AI to hire them. And I think everyone, at least like younger people or people that are more so getting into this and are more accustomed with it, need to become AI experts. I think that's just that's where things are headed.
I agree. And I think like one of the things we typically like tell people, that because our thing is automated personal branding, right? And like the biggest concern that people have is like, well, I don't want to lose that authenticity factor, right? And I go into detail about how we avoid that, because everyone's putting out that same chat GPT. You post something on LinkedIn, it's like, wow, this is a really good insight. And it's like, all right, it's all AI. But that being said, I think one of the biggest things as well, especially on the creative space, is that you don't have to stop creating. Like for me, with like a lot of the AI avatar videos, for example, on a business owner side, it's like I understand the value of posting content, and I understand that I need to be putting out as much content as possible. A, so I can figure out what works, and also B, just so I can stay top of mind for people who are watching my content. But also there's a lot of creative projects and like bigger things that I want to pursue that take more time. So now it's like, I can be producing content and posting content consistently, and I know it aligns with my brand. I know it aligns with my voice. I know it's not generic, and I know it reflects my actual thoughts, my personality. So it's still authentic to me, and I can have that content going out every day with zero involvement, while I'm able to focus more time and more hours on the actual creative projects that matter to me. Like, for a lot of my videos, I'm going to be spending a lot more time filming, because there's stuff I want to do with like, cloning myself in some videos, or just like a lot of stuff with storytelling as well. Like I've really been trying to become a better writer, and like, telling those stories visually. But I run a business. I don't have time all the time. So it's like knowing I have content going out, and I'm not just going to go, oh crap, it's been 2 weeks since I've last posted. And I can actually still spend the time on that passion project. It's like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, I think in that sense that the business landscape is going to evolve much faster, because it is all about time exchange, right? So if now you don't even have to worry about dealing with VAs, or you don't have to worry about employees, instead you can just have the AI do it. The AI does it way faster. It doesn't need to eat. It doesn't need to sleep. It does all the things that you need it to do. From a business owner standpoint, It sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty good.
No lawsuits.
I think as a business owner, or at least as an aspiring business owner, you really need to make sure that you have an actual business in place before this stuff really comes to term. Because I think once the AI landscape has truly evolved, and maybe in the next like 3 years where AI is just everywhere, you're using it for literally everything. Then I think it's going to be really hard to break into the market because everyone's already using it. You're like not really tech savvy. Maybe you can get a job as an AI guy helping out with the AI stuff. But in terms of starting a business, I think you need to have an established business right now so that when the AI stuff fully comes to fruition, that now you're just like everyone else using the AI instead of trying to break into the market. Like, wait, how do I use these tools? And I don't even have my normal CRM going. How do I get the AI CRM going,
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I had something I was going to say on that, but it's kind of skipping my mind, but it's, yeah, I think, okay, I know what I was going to say. Really, I think like just kind of, even if you're not actively building, like, okay, maybe you have a team you need to manage, it's like you don't have time. Just being aware of the advancements and like what they mean is a massive leg up. Just because, there's like a really big trend around AI agents right now, for example, right? We've been working with AI agents for the past year, and it's like now it's just starting to catch up. So if you can really get ahead of everybody else in terms of, like that technology and everything like that, then you have a very good idea of where things are going in the market and like what is going to pop up next. Like, like something that we did last year, this was probably sometime around, March or April. I think it was around February, March actually, because we did it with a really big creator when I was still with, my previous team. And we built like an AI setter for his Instagram. And this thing probably did over 7 figures. He's got a very big audience. And I can't take all the credibility because I wasn't too involved on the tech aspect at that time. And, that's my partner's case study. But that being said, we were using AI agents at the time. And they're fully autonomous and everything like that. And you look at those classic chatbots. I mean, most of them weren't really like actual AI at the time, but I mean, those are AI agents. You see a lot of AI phone agents now. So like this technology has been around for a while, but now you're really seeing people catch on to like, okay, AI agents, and it's like blowing up all over YouTube. So when you come across these things, it's like you still have a little bit of time before like the market catches up to that. So the further ahead you can get there is like better.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that point. Like something that a lot of even local businesses have is some kind of web chat on their website. And depending on who it is, I'd say maybe 50% of companies have an AI chatbot. Yeah. So you communicate with the chatbot right away. Maybe they answer all the frequently asked questions. Maybe you prompt it a little bit. Maybe you give it a little something. Yeah. But it can kind of run on its own. And in that sense, we've had AI agents for years. But for people that aren't familiar, like if you're like a 6-year-old local business owner, this doesn't really make sense. Let's just back up for a sense. Can you explain what an AI agent is?
Yeah, so typically when you look at software, I guess the main difference between AI agents and something like ChatGPT or, traditional software, when you look at traditional software, everything has logic to it. So if this person does this action, then this action happens, right? Super basic. And then, with AI itself, it's like, it's not acting on its own. Like you're always giving it something to do, or if it's part of an automation, it's like a step by step process. Like you lay out the whole foundation. Or like I said, with AI, it's like, hey, write me an email. You're always giving it something to do. But with an AI agent, the main difference there is the fact that it's autonomous. So if you create an AI agent and you say, hey, every day at 9, I want you to update the CRM and like all the deals in there. It's like, okay, cool. You have a task, but there's no defined logic there. So you're leaving it up to the AI agent and the tools that you've given it access to determine what the best like course of action is. So for example, if you're like, hey, schedule in a meeting with John, it's going to look at the availability on your calendar. It's going to look at the availability on John's calendar. And then it's going to draft up an email depending on the best time. Like, okay, maybe it knows, like you don't have very many meetings at lunch. Your workload's pretty light. John's around at that time. So it's going to it's basically going to kind of align those two, and it's going to make the decision on its own. So that's really like the main difference. It's going to draft up the email, say, hey, John, let's hop on at this time. And yeah, that's really like the main difference. Of course, now, there's still some things that can go wrong. Like especially if you're giving it really big tasks, like maybe that's a banger beat, man.
It's the clock in the background if you guys can't hear it.
That's funny. It's like ding, 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 ding. It's like ding. Yeah. It's like I was getting into it. But yeah, like I kind of rambled there because I was listening to the clock.
No, you're good.
But yeah, that's really the main difference, is just that it makes those decisions itself and determines like the best course of action based on the task, the desired result, and the tools you've given it.
Yeah, awesome. And that was actually a good explanation. I think that is the best way to explain it, is comparing it to ChatGPT or Gemini or those kinds of tools, because that's what people are familiar with. Yeah. And it's like kind of what's the difference. So it is kind of an automated thing. And something I wanted to ask you regarding that is, what do you think is going to be like the universal use case for AI agents? Like, is everyone going to have an AI agent that is almost like an administrative assistant that replies to all their emails or manages their stuff? Like, what particular field is it? Is it management? Like, is it CRM stuff? Is it more creative stuff? Where do you see the universal use case for most businesses?
That's a great question. So yeah, administrative big time is like a massive one. So, VAs that are usually filling out spreadsheets, doing all that stuff, managing your email, managing your calendar, your bookings, whatever you would hire an actual assistant for or hire out to a VA, AI agents 100%, like that whole thing is gone. Now, in terms of what comes after that, that's a good question. I think the second biggest after that is, he's got a lot of clocks, bro.
I know.
That's so funny. Anyways, I think the second biggest...
It's 4 o'clock.
Good to know, bro. I just thought that was funny. Okay, I think the second biggest thing after that is going to be sales. I mean, we've already, like I told you, looking back at the past year of, all the clients that we've worked with, the biggest pattern that we've seen is there's a lot of people that want appointment setters. Because you look at appointment setters, you run a big company, you have all of these appointment setters. It's like there's so much involved with the logistics. Okay, we need to track performance. We need to have them fill out end of day reports every day. All right, cool. This setter just hopped on with us, and now he's out after like a month. We got to rehire. We got to replace this person. We're gonna have to pay this company to place someone in our team. There's so much that is just a headache with setters, appointment setters, and there's so many of them too. So it's like, I think setters are gone next. I don't think closers are going anywhere anytime soon. Definitely CRM management would be kind of next after that. Moving on beyond that, I think for bigger companies, you're going to have a lot of agents with like in HR, potentially monitoring emails or whatever the case might be, making sure things are in compliance, like a lot of legal aspects. Yeah. After that, marketing, I think, is a big one. Like I said, we're already working with a company to build like literally an ads agent. Like that's the whole point. Beyond that, I'm not sure, but those are probably like the top. So like administrative, sales, 100%, especially with like appointment setters. And then after that, like marketing and maybe some HR would be the biggest ones.
Awesome. So definitely admin first. So I just like I'd like to get a little tactical here for a second. And we've kind of already touched on it several points, but let's get tactical. What exactly should people be using an AI agent for administrative tasks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing is, first and foremost, I guess like the best way to figure out where a lot of your admin time is going, because there's a bunch of different business models out there, and like admin for everybody looks completely different. So like I was telling you earlier, I think the biggest thing would be, first, download a free extension on your Chrome browser called Clockify, and throughout your workday, every time you're doing a new task, turn on that timer and track how long you're doing it. So there's a little bit of friction at first, but eventually once you get used to it, it's like second nature. So let's just say every morning at 7 a.m. you sit down and you start answering emails, right? You finish up answering emails maybe around 7:15, 7:30. It's like that's tracked, and just do that for a period of like 1 or 2 weeks. And then come back and look at where you're spending most of your time and see which of those tasks are admin tasks or something that could be handed off to a VA. And those are going to be the first places that you implement an AI agent, I would say, is like the big thing. Because I could obviously like, answering emails, or maybe like data, like putting things onto a spreadsheet, analyzing that data. It's like, that's still broad. If you want something that's really, really specific to you, I would follow those steps, figure out where you're actually spending most of your time on admin, and then that's going to be the first place that you actually.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a good answer, because it does depend. Like depending on the business, depending on if you already have an admin person, there's definitely variables. So I think that's a really good tip, and we actually were talking about that before the podcast of using something like Clockify to see where your time is going. Like, are you replying to social media comments several hours a day? Are you replying to emails every day? There are places that your time is going that you might not even be aware of. Because it's just so habitual. So I really like that. Something else I wanted to touch on is the tools that you use, because I know you're a big tool guy. You know of all the latest tools. I want to know, besides like you said Heygen and 11 Labs, what are some of the other tools that you're using?
That's a good question. So, and it's like on social media, I swear there's like a lot of people that post a new tool that they're using every day. But I guarantee you, like, they don't use half the tools that they put up. In terms of a B2B perspective, because that's where our main focus is. For obviously like sales and everything like that, honestly, we build most of our internal tools inside of Airtable. So Airtable, most of you who do know what it is, it's like, it's just a database platform. If you don't know what it is, it's a database platform. But it doubles as a lot more than that, because on the surface, it looks like just a much better version of like spreadsheets. But inside of Airtable, you have automations, you have forms, but really where it gets special is interfaces. So you can build like custom analytics dashboards, you can build end of day forms for your sales teams to fill out, you can add Kanban boards, calendars. So really Airtable has become, our CRM, our content management platform, our CSM, like our client success management platform. And then, like basically everything that we use inside of our business. Now for content, we've messed around between like, we've tried ClickUp, we've tried using Airtable for it, or Notion. Typically, I just prefer Airtable or Notion. Airtable on the like actual systems side of things is vastly superior than Notion.
Really?
But as someone who's just like creative, Airtable doesn't really inspire much creativity for me. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna use Notion. And Notion's gotten better. Like they've started implementing automations and stuff like that. So Airtable, Notion. Now with automation and systems, so a lot of people use Zapier for their automations, but it's a very beginner-friendly platform. So if you don't have any experience, then maybe you start there. But it's very, very, very expensive. I've seen, I've worked with a bunch of companies that have bills on Zapier of $500 to $1,000 plus a month, right? So typically for automations, we use Make.com. Just to give kind of an idea, on Make.com, you pay $10.59 a month for 10,000 operations. On Zapier, for 750 tasks, which are basically the same thing, you're paying $30 a month. So already you're getting over 10 times for 1/3 of the price. So Make.com for automations. If you want to build AI agents, there's a platform called N8N. So the letter N, the number 8, and then the letter N again, .io. That's where you build your AI agents. Very steep learning curve, but that's where you're going to get that done. And then with AI models, it depends. So we use Claude and ChatGPT very heavily. Claude, like kind of on the day-to-day and in a lot of our automations, but we use ChatGPT not in the same way where it's like, okay, I'm just going to open up ChatGPT, but to fine-tune our models. So OpenAI as a platform makes fine-tuning very easy, and it's not just uploading some documents to like a knowledge base or something like that. It's much more in-depth. You're uploading your own custom data set, so like coded data set to a model. And yeah, that's really like it for AI. And then I'm trying to think of what else there is that we use every day.
Are you using ChatGPT at all, or are you using an alternative?
We use like a little bit of ChatGPT, but I use Claude like every day. And then for the actual only time I use ChatGPT is just for fine-tuning models, which is like a back-end thing. So it's not even like opening up ChatGPT and talking to. I can go into what fine-tuning is if you want.
Yeah, let's go into it.
Yeah, so fine-tuning is a method for training an AI model. So there's a bunch of different ways you can train them. Obviously, the first is with prompting. You and I know what prompting is. The second is with RAG. So if you've ever been on, and that's retrieval augmented generation. If you've ever messed around with custom GPTs where you like upload a document to your knowledge base or whatever the case might be, maybe you've seen some videos online where it's like, I just made this email copywriter, I give it 200 pages of my email copy. That's using RAG. Now, when somebody says like, I give this thing 200, pages of my email copy to like use or whatever, it's, a lot of people don't know this, but that's not necessarily the entire truth. So RAG uses something called chunk processing. Obviously, can't use all of that 200 pages whenever you tell it to write an email. So let's just say, you brought on a new chef. You hired a new chef for your restaurant. This guy has no clue what he's doing. He's your nephew. You just wanted to bring him on, get him in the family biz. Guy's an idiot, but you know what? We'll get him going, right? Yeah. So you run a pretty high-end restaurant, and he has no idea what he's doing. You don't have time to train him. So you ask him to make this gourmet dish, and just to reference, you give him like a big cookbook full of all of your recipes, right? Obviously, he's gonna flip through that cookbook, the entire thing, find the recipe, and then, try his best to make something that somewhat resembles it. But of course, he has no experience. So you're gonna get something that's like, kind of there. Like maybe it's pretty decent. Maybe it's like 60% of the way there, 70% of the way there, but it still needs a lot of tweaking. And that's because he has no experience. That's basically the same thing as RAG. So when you have those 200 pages of copy material that you trained the AI on, it scans through all of those. Let's just say, you want to write an email on how handsome Danny is. And it's going to scan through all of those, find the 4 most relevant chunks that like relate most to what the task is or what the prompt is. So if you wrote emails previously about how much you love Danny or how handsome he is,
okay, all right.
it's gonna use those as reference for the actual email. But if there's no emails about that subject, the output is gonna be pretty minor. So when people say they trained it on 200 pages of copy or whatever, it's not really like the full truth. It's kind of correct, but not really. Fine tuning is a little different. So going back to our restaurant scenario, you hired on a chef, but this guy's been a chef for 30 years. Like this guy has the brain of a chef. You could give him, 3 ingredients and he makes like the world's best gourmet dish with it. He doesn't even need to look at anything. Fine tuning is the same way. The technical aspect of it's a little hard to explain because really at the end of the day, you're still uploading your data to the model, but you're not just giving it a document as a reference. It's like you're plugging a flash drive into the back of its brain. Like it's not just saying, hey, take a look at this and copy that style. It's like you're uploading it to the model itself in a way. So the best way to kind of think about this is ChatGPT, even if you don't give it a document, it still has a data set, like billions of examples that it's trained on, right? It's basically doing the exact same thing, but on a much, much, much smaller scale of your own copy. So it becomes hyper specific to that one writing style if you're doing it for copywriting, or if you're doing it for medicinal use and like a medical use case. It's really good at maybe diagnosing something where it's like you have to be very specific about what I'm trying to think of. I don't know too much about medicine, but you have to be very specific about what the symptoms are, like what that could be basically. So that's really where fine tuning comes into play. It's a lot more technically complex, but the results are so good.
Dang. Okay, that was a really good explanation. I actually didn't even know that much about fine tuning, so that was something that I learned.
I always like to tell people, because I see those videos where it's like, I uploaded 200 pages of my copy, and it's more of like a marketing tactic than it actually is true.
Yeah. So. And then just clarify the difference between that and like a custom GPT, because I know a lot of people are now starting to use that, or maybe they make a custom GPT for their company, or even just one operation within their company. Those two are still different though?
Yeah, so between fine-tuning and custom GPTs, because custom GPTs, you open it up, you upload, your PDFs or whatever, it's still using RAG, it's the same thing. But really when it comes to like the actual use cases or when they're needed, like if you're just, creating a custom GPT to help you with automations or help you with aspects of your company, there's 0 point to creating a fine-tuned model. Now, when you're wanting to create something that's really, really good at one specific task, like you want a Twitter ghostwriter, you want it to write exactly like you don't want to spend $3,000 a month on a copywriter, you don't want to write it all yourself, that's when you fine-tune a model.
Okay.
And it's like you save a crap ton of time, crap ton of money. You could get 95% perfect in just a 1-sentence prompt. Like no documents uploaded. You say 1 sentence, hey, write an email about this. It's perfect, nearly.
Dang.
It's really powerful. I'll have to show you.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd also like to jump back for a sec to you using Claude. Why do you use Claude instead of other platforms?
That's a good question. Honestly, like I don't know. It's I've been using ChatGPT as of late, and it's kind of dumb, you know. And Claude, I don't usually run into that issue, but usually a lot of the use cases I have for AI are very creative focused, and Claude is just a much better model when it comes to creative outputs. Like ChatGPT is really great for data analysis, a lot of like analytical things, but when it comes to actual creativity, Claude is vastly superior. I know buddies who, you know, are like have told me recently that they're using Claude for like a lot of their email copywriting or whatever the case might be. And even without like really great prompts, or, you know, you can't fine tune Claude. You can fine tune Haiku, which is like one of their crappy models, so it's not even worth it. But even with just base Claude, not really very great prompts or anything like that, they're still getting pretty good outputs. Like Claude is really good for creative writing, in my opinion, from what I've seen. You know, maybe the numbers show different. You look at the actual data and it's like definitely not the case. But just from, I don't know what the word is, but just from like my own experience, definitely feels like it's much better at that.
Okay, awesome. And also something I'd like to make sure to cover, which I forgot to mention in the intro, I wanted to, but for people that don't know, you have 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty big. That's a pretty massive feat, which is awesome. So actually we did talk a little bit about that, but I'd like to talk about that, of like the personal branding side of things. So like, how did you originally start your personal brand? Because I remember seeing you start on Instagram, and I think I saw you stuck at like 3,000 followers for a while, and I was kind of thinking like, dude, what are you doing? And then a few months later, you were at 100K, or I don't know, maybe, I don't know, 30K and then 60 or something big like that. So tell me about kind of the evolution of building your personal brand, what you learned, what that was like.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a rough journey. Like I feel like even now I still struggle like a lot with it, because I'd be lying if I came on here and said I knew everything, you know? Yeah. But so initially I think the biggest thing really there is just consistently putting out content and trying to put out better content every time. But like, yeah, I was posting for a while, and, you know, you go back to my videos, I still have them on my Instagram from like back late 2022. And they're horrible. Like I don't have any mic. Even my editor's like progressed a lot with me. Like he's leveled up.
Interesting.
You know.
Yeah.
You look at his old edits, because he's been with me for like 2 years. Like this guy's like my head of marketing now. And he like manages all the editors and stuff. So, you know, you look at his stuff back then, and it's really just a gradual increase in quality. And the stuff you think you're putting out that's really quality is not. You're gonna look back at it, especially if you stick with it in a year, and you're like, dude, and then eventually you hit that tipping point where it's like you get just the right topic, you scripted it in just the right way, and you know, like it just pops, right? And then like you still don't know really why, and it's just like, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then you start to see patterns a little bit. Now, where I really messed up with my personal brand, because I did hit, you know, 60K, and then I hit 100K, and I've been stuck there for a while. There are so many times where it'll like dip and then go back up and then dip again, and it's
Did it go under 100?
No, I've caught it every single time.
I checked.
I got a video that pops, and I'm like, all right, we're back up.
Yeah.
And I recently though, I finally got like a lock on it. Like videos been doing like 200K, and then I had one that just did like 30K,
Nice.
40K, and I'm guessing by the time it's done running, it'll probably be like 50 to 100. And, you know, they're bringing in followers, so I've gotten it down a little bit. There were two things that went into that. I initially built my brand on AI news, right? Mm-hmm. That was like kind of the whole thing, just like general tech news, AI news. And so that's where a lot of my following came from. And then I tried to switch it to B2B, more like B2B focused. And I didn't know how to position B2B in a way where it's like, it's still viral, like still has viral potential, but it's also capturing the attention of the people that I want to bring into the business. Mm-hmm. And so for a very, very, very long time, I struggled with that, and my growth completely stagnated. Couple that with the fact that I went solo and I split with my business partners, and dev work takes a crap ton of time. Like it takes an absurd amount of time, dev work does. And so I was so focused on, it's kind of like the irony of like, you're building out systems for all these businesses, and then like you don't have time to build out your own,
Exactly.
And so my personal brand suffered. I stopped posting content as much. Like I kind of just disappeared for a little while, like occasionally throwing out a video. Spent a lot of time very confused. The videos I did put out like they didn't feel like me. Like they just felt like I was posting to post, and I was like, man, this really sucks. And so yeah, I stagnated for a really long time there, and then going to the end of this year, like I talked about, like I burnt out super hard, and then I took a second back, and once I finished up a bunch of projects, like I kind of just took things off my plate and really sat and thought about the type of content that I wanted to post, and then I started actually building systems around my content, which is where I started automating things, and it became a lot easier to follow through with that. Right now, literally my only bottleneck's my editors.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm working on hiring new editors because like, yeah, that's really my only bottleneck. We have a backlog of like fucking 20, 30 videos that are just ready to go.
Really?
But yeah, so that's my biggest bottleneck now, and now growth is starting to go back up. But for a long time, it really sucked. Like it made me feel like an imposter. Like it really like honestly hurt my ego.
Yeah.
It's like you try not to place like any value on it, but it really does suck when you're putting out content or you want to keep growing, and it's like you're not doing the best job you could. But now that's why I'm putting so much time into learning proper way to script, and it's like with your videos, with the hook, for example, you want to start broad and then niche down inside of the video, rather than just being like, if you're a fitness owner, it's like if your team, blah blah blah, and then it applies to all business owners rather than just fitness people, right? So that's like, I don't know if I dodged the question or not. I lost track. I rambled.
No, that's it. So like for other people that want to build their personal brand, just to kind of get a gauge, how much time are you spending like every week or every month creating content?
It's a good question. So typically, if I was like posting across all platforms, and I talked to a buddy about this as well earlier today, literally. So I think this is a pretty good gauge. Typically, if you know how to do things and you're pretty dialed with it, like, and you're posting across platforms, like a couple of YouTube videos a week maybe, and then short form content, you might be looking at like 10 to 15 hours. If you're just getting started, maybe you're posting like a video a day. If it's really a good video that you put effort and time into, you might spend an hour on it. So like 7 hours a week, just across scripting, editing that video. Your first videos won't be great. That's just how it is. And then, yeah, so I'd say like that's typically what it was. Now, honestly, most of my time spent on content is just like learning everything I can about like psychology and like editing tricks. I've been going super heavy into graphic design because we want to start automating thumbnails. And so like, yeah, a lot of my time now is just spent on learning. I'd say typically on a week to week basis, I spend 4 or 5 hours on content. I'd say an hour or two on scripting and maybe like writing tweets because I still enjoy doing that, or writing threads. And then the rest of it's just full learning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is building a personal brand worth it? And if so, how can you start?
That's a good question. Yes. Yeah, it's 100% worth it. Like a million miles. Like every single connection that I have, every single door that I've been able to get
like
into
us.
is like, yeah, literally. It's just like, it comes from posting on social media. And I think especially on a B2B side, it's really great for client acquisition. It makes it a lot easier. I look back again, like at the year, and it's like my best, highest quality content, or not content, clients were inbound from my social media content. Like these are people that I loved working with. They were our best case studies. We got the best results for them. I was excited to work with them, and they all came inbound from my social media content. So it really does help. And in terms of getting started, really I'd think about why you're doing it first. So like, most people watching this are going to be doing it B2B and like thinking about driving more business and like revenue. So first and foremost, get numbers out of your head. Like chances are, if you're starting with B2B, like you're not gonna go viral straight off the gate unless you really know how to position it or go like super broad like Alex Hormozy. And you don't need numbers to get clients. There are people who have an audience that's not even a tenth the size of mine that makes 10 times more money than I do because they're very well positioned in like B2B. That's what they do. So you don't need to worry about getting a big audience. Really, the main thing I would focus on is really figuring out what problems your target market is facing. I'd focus on platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn, like long form YouTube content. Every single person I've talked to, every client I've talked to, they get the most clients from YouTube. Like that's how it is, because people are looking for long form solutions. Like For me, for example, it might be like the I guess best AI tools for content creation, whatever the case might be. And those are the types of videos you make to actually position yourself to start landing clients from those YouTube videos. In terms of getting started, once you have like a solid number of video ideas, just keep it as simple as possible. Do not overcomplicate things. You don't need a crazy content system to start. You don't need like a CRM. You don't need to go crazy. Just like sit down, write out 10 videos, and then just hammer them out and upload them to YouTube. The production quality is going to be crap. The video is probably not going to be great, and that's just kind of how it is. But you'd be surprised how many crappy looking videos land clients and like bring inbound people. I'd say like find some ideas, find some people in your niche that you want to take inspiration from, and just get going.
Definitely, I'd agree. No, I've seen tons of people kill it without editing, without a great camera, without a great mic. Like you really don't need the fancy stuff, although it helps. But I think in terms of starting, it really is like you just have to start. Which actually, I told you, I deleted most of the videos that I had on my agency channel because it ended up turning into the podcast, and those videos sucked anyway. So now I'm gonna start on a new agency channel. But looking back at those videos, they were so bad. They were so bad. The quality was so bad. I definitely didn't know as much as I do now. So it was cringy to look back on. And yet, dude, some of the videos had thousands of views.
I know. Yeah, they popped actually for a while. Yeah.
They were pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, no, they weren't good, but they got good views. And it was very simple. So I don't know, just making videos that you think people will find interesting, and kind of like what your clients are asking about, and also like dominating your niche. I think that's a big thing to hammer home too. That most people want to just make broad content or go viral, but as a business owner, usually you're trying to actually get business. Yeah. So make content for your potential clients and prospects, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get stuck on the viral hamster wheel. I'd be 100% brutally honest with yourself about why you're creating content. If you're creating content to go viral, there's nothing wrong with that. Like generally, like it doesn't matter. But actually be honest with yourself, or else you're going to spend a lot of time in this twilight zone where you're like kind of creating content for two types of people. And if you don't have experience, like, positioning your content in a way where it's like it can go viral and also get the attention of who you're looking for, then you're going to be in a very hard place where your content is not getting views and it's not getting you clients, and it's like you just feel like you're kind of shooting into the void a little bit. But yeah, I think just be honest with yourself about what you're looking for, and then if your content gets 100 views but gets you 2 inbound leads, it's like, who cares if it got 100 views? Like, I know it feels good to be like, I want to be a big YouTuber, or like, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And something that I was also curious about, what we were talking about earlier, is that you're starting to use AI for more of your content. Do you think at some point all of your content is going to be AI, and do you think that's going to be most creators too?
Yeah, I don't think all of it's going to be AI ever, because there's a part of me that likes creating content, and I've talked with a lot of creators about this as well. I've always been someone who's created content. When I was little, I had God knows how many YouTube channels, and it's like, even I had a bunch of different TikTok profiles that I ran up profiles on, or like followers on, and it's just like, I've always been someone who's creative. Like, I acted for a while, and so I do enjoy the creative aspect of creating. Now, do I think a lot of like the B2B side and like a lot of the logistics of creating content, a lot of the aspects I don't really like are going to be automated? All of it's going to be automated. And I think a good portion of my content probably will be automated with the AI avatar, but there's still going to be, me behind the scenes that's putting real effort and like, real time into creating pieces and content that I'm actually passionate about and that I want to share with people, because now I do have that free time to actually, put into it. So I think it's going to be a mix of both. Probably a different story for other people. Some people, I had a client, he's like, bro, I can't even, you could put a gun in my head and I won't get up and sit in front of a camera. Like, I hate it. And for that type of person, fully automated.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you is, I feel like, at least the first half of the podcast, we were talking about like how scared we are about all the stuff coming on in AI. But I wanted to ask you, what is something that you're really excited about that's coming in AI?
Ooh, that is a great question. When I think about it, I think the biggest thing I'd have to say is AI video. because I know, Google's releasing their VO2 model. I mean, it's out already, but it's like very private access for people. So AI video is definitely the biggest thing, because you look at these multi-million dollar blockbuster films, and it's like all the money and time and everything that goes into them. Eventually, these are going to be things you can create from your own home. Like it's the quality that we're already seeing in AI video. I'm sure most people have seen like that Will Smith video where he's like eating spaghetti or whatever. And it's like a year ago, it looked like nightmare fuel, and then now it's like it actually looks almost real. And then VO2 is introducing like actual physics and lighting and shadows to their models, making it look 10 times more realistic. Now the technology is still pretty far out. Like I'm sure if you use Sora or any other video models, it's really hard to get a very good output. But that being said, I think the fact that we've made so much progress with that already is absolutely insane. And that's something I'm super excited for, just like being able to create your own B-roll for your projects, or just like videos of different things. Sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
One thing I'm not excited for is like the darker side of things, which is like the OnlyFans management type of stuff, and like
and AI OnlyFans models.
Yeah, that I'm worried about, because I think, and like I've seen so much stuff where it's like,
no, people are gonna have AI girlfriends.
Dude, I've seen like an actual video of like this company that has like an AI girlfriend robot, and they're like, we want to cure loneliness, and I'm like, cure loneliness by putting people further apart. Like that's really good. That stuff I think is incredibly dystopian and really scary.
It's really dystopian. I don't know if you've ever seen Westworld, but it's just like
I haven't, but I need to check it out.
You should definitely watch it, man. And anyone in the audience should definitely watch it too. Basically, like this dystopian world, which I think they made it about 10 years ago, but now you can totally see something like this coming in the next 10 years, where they create what I believe they called like playgrounds of like AI robots that seem completely human. You can't even tell whether it's a human or not.
That's
but
so
you
weird,
get to interact with the robots just like they are human. So it's like real life, but without the consequences.
So odd,
so you can get with any robots you want. You can shoot any robots you want. You can like get into I don't know, like they all have like their own side stories, and like this one girl drops the can every time, and then you can pick it up and then like save her from her dad getting shot, and that happens every single time. So really interesting, and I think something like that is going to happen, and dude, it is really dystopian, and it's going so fast.
It's like I think about it, and you read 20 years ago, you read a book like 1984, and it's like, man, that is out there. Like, geez, that sounds crazy, man. And then you fast forward to now, and it's like, dude, that feels like that's gonna be 2026, like next year, and it's like every year it progresses even faster too. So one thing I can touch on real quick is, OpenAI, I think it's their O3 model. Now, it's not released yet, but they announced their O3 model. And now you're going to have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because honestly, I haven't looked into it that much, like transparently. I don't want to be spouting crap. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But the O3 model, in terms of like comparative performance, they have like AGI, testing. Basically, it shows how close, in terms of artificial general intelligence, like how close that model, like compares to it, like the benchmarks for it. GPT-4o, or I think it might have been GPT-4, comparatively to like what AGI would actually look like, was I think at 11%. So it's like, all right, that's looking pretty high. If I remember correctly, O3 was like 81% or something like that, and I was like, holy crap, this model is, now of course...
Wait, 83% to what?
AGI. It's like artificial general intelligence.
And when was that?
This was probably like a few weeks ago now. And so it's like no, I'm not saying like at 100%, it's like, okay, cool, we have AGI now.
The world ends.
I don't know how that benchmark works, honestly. I don't know if it's like, okay, at 100%, like this means it's it's actually AGI. I didn't look too much into it, but you also have to take this with it. You have to take what the companies give you with a grain of salt, because they like to make things look really, really good, and then you actually get to mess around with the product, and it's not like that great. But I do know that in terms of like performance, in terms of like coding capabilities, it was compared to the 125th best programmer in the world, like in terms of skill level, being able to program. So like you're talking top 125 in the world programmers, coders. It has that ability, and oh man, it's like PhD level in terms of like intelligence as well. Like it's able to beat out PhD level graduates, and like that's insane. You know, again, like a lot of companies like that, especially now that OpenAI is for profit, it's like they're going to put a lot more into their marketing, and it's like there's always ways you can kind of twist those numbers to make it look like a lot better. So I don't know 100%, but the fact that it's that much more powerful is like insane.
No, it's crazy, man. All right, so we'll start to wrap up here. I've got two more questions for you. First one is all the stuff that we've been talking about. I was actually trying to talk about exciting stuff, and then we got into more scary stuff. But how can people, like with all this scary stuff coming on and AI progressing so fast, how can people make sure that they protect themselves and that they're like okay in the next few years?
That's a good question, and I don't have a foolproof answer, but I think one of the biggest things is opening your mind first and foremost, because it's coming. It doesn't matter how much you dislike it or like, man, this is such a shame. Like, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. There's something that Chris Williamson always likes, or that always says, and he always talks about how it's the cost of doing business nowadays. Like, this is just the way it is. So how you react to it and the more proactive you are about it, the better off you're going to be. Because if you're just going to sit there and grumble, it's like you're not helping yourself, and these corporations aren't going to care if you're mad. Like they don't care. And the best way to really position yourself to beat them at their own game is learn as much as you can about the technology. Just stay on top of the news, where it's going, and try to implement it into your own business, and also just try to have fun with it. I think is the biggest thing. Like, I made the most progress when I was building products that I would actually use myself. So if you're someone who likes to work out, like, create a fitness GPT that has all of your workout routines. Or like, I created one for calisthenics. I uploaded this whole book called Overcoming Gravity, and it has a bunch of detail about how to actually assemble a calisthenics routine. And I created a custom GPT around it. So now I can, just like create calisthenics workouts whenever I want. Really use it in your day-to-day life in a way that's fun and actually applicable to the way you live. And it's like, then you create those things, and then you start coming up with ideas like, okay, cool, how can I make this better? Because like, I'm kind of having an issue with this. Like, I'd much prefer it if it just knows my schedule and can give me I'm doing a push-pull leg split. I want it to give me a push workout on Monday, a pull workout on Tuesday, legs workout on Wednesday. It's like, then you can start looking at automating things, and then you start kind of like just breaking into that a little bit. And the more you build things and just kind of get into the space, like, the more you realize that it's all pretty straightforward, and if you're using ChatGPT, you're ahead of like a lot of people. Most people don't even know what it is and definitely don't use it. Like, I think of my mom, for example. It's like, there's no way she uses ChatGPT. And then, you're already ahead of like probably 80-90% of people, and then start building stuff like that, you're easily in the top 1% of like the population. So it's like, it doesn't take much to get ahead, I think.
Okay, cool. And a quick follow-up question to that is, I actually forgot the follow-up question. I had it in my mind for like the last few minutes.
No, you're good. It'll come back.
Let's see. The thing that you were talking about earlier.
I was talking about OFM, and then we started talking about like the creative aspects of AI and the video models, and we were talking about O3 and how its benchmarks compare to AGI. How far back are we going here?
No, I'm just talking at the okay, I remember. It was just at the beginning. It was at the beginning of your statement. So you're talking about staying up to date with the news. Is there any person or any company in particular, besides yourself, which actually you guys should all go follow him. We'll plug him at the end, but because anything AI news, I think you cover at least somewhat. But is there anyone that you follow in particular? Any person, any newsletter, any news channel for AI news?
That's a really good question. So honestly, like, I don't put as much AI news content out anymore. Like I said, I'm focused a lot on the B2B side of things. I do put out AI news if it's like something that's breaking, but really you want to be fully focused on like the actual like small parts of what's going on, because that's going to be what kind of clues you into where things are going. So obviously I'd like people to follow me, but hey, if you're looking for AI news, there's a lot of good resources out there. One of them is Snack Prompt. That's like a website that I am subscribed to their newsletter. The stuff they put out is really good. There's one that's like Horizon AI is another one. Like I'm part of their newsletter. There are lots of creators out there too. Like Varun Maya is a big one.
Huh.
Okay, fun fact. I just wanted to drop this. He's got almost 800. I think he has 850,000 followers, and most of his videos are with his Heygen avatar. I just wanted to say that. Like his content team is cracked, bro. Yeah, his content team is insane. Like he was like the first person to really do it.
Dang.
And they're not even running B2B. I don't think. Like they're just pumping. But he's done like podcasts now with like the CEO of Google and stuff. It's insane. So he was the first person to.
But
really
is it actually the CEO of Google?
Like it was like them in person. They met. So like yeah, that was actually a thing.
Okay.
But most of his videos you'll notice like kind of have the same background, and those are usually the videos that are done with his Heygen avatar, which is insane. So he's like, AI news breaks, an hour later he's there. Yeah,
No.
Yeah, it's like he's quick, bro.
That is
like,
crazy. Those AI avatars quick.
Dude, yeah, and it's like, obviously I'm trying to work on scaling up my editing team so we can be on top of things like that. But
yeah.
Anyways, I'm trying to think of who else. Really, honestly, if you download Instagram, just start interacting with AI content, you're gonna find a million, trillion, billion theme pages that you can like post that stuff quick. But I'd say those are like the biggest things. Horizon AI, Snack Prompt, Varun Maya is really quick when it comes to like tech news and AI news. So I think those are like the three that really come to my mind. I'm trying to think of who else there might be, especially if it's like keeping it digestible, But all these AI platforms as well, when you like subscribe to one, they'll recommend like 7 other newsletters that you can subscribe to. They get like a little commission off of it, but usually the ones they recommend are pretty reliable as well. So
awesome, man.
It's super easy.
No, cool, man. I think that's super valuable. I'll make sure to follow those 3 people, and I'll look out to see if I can tell the Heygen.
I can show you after this.
Yeah,
I'll make
okay,
sure you know.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I think that was a great podcast. I think this is a good place to end it. And where can people find you on social media and learn more about you and your services?
Absolutely. So the best place, typically, like my biggest platform is Instagram. It's just Zoro the Wiz, ZoroThewiz. So Zoro the Wiz, and then it's that across platforms. So you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn, TikTok. RIP.
Yeah, that's tough. When this podcast goes out, it'll be gone.
Yeah, so it's like, you can find me on any platform pretty much under that alias, Zoro the Wiz.
Cool. Awesome, man. And anything else you'd like to plug or mention? I know you have the school group. Maybe you want to plug that.
Actually, so if you're wanting to learn a little bit more about how, we build these content systems for ourselves and for our clients as well, we do have a school group. It's $47 a month. It's pretty much focused purely on B2B. So everyone in there is super high quality. I go through each person that, buys into the group. I vet them pretty heavily just to make sure they're actually a business owner and it's actually someone who's quality. So you have a bunch of people in there that are, great people to network with, all high quality business owners. And then you can learn everything you need to know about, all the tools I mentioned, AirTable, so building out systems for your own business, whether it's your CRM or your CSM, your content systems, fine-tuning AI models, so actually using those training techniques I talked about earlier, automating your ideation, whatever the case is, you can hop in there and it's all step by step. So it doesn't matter if you can barely open up your email or if you're a tech whiz, there's definitely something in there for you. So
awesome. Well, cool. I think that was a great podcast. Make sure to go follow Sean on everywhere, especially Instagram and Twitter. And thank you so much for coming on the show, Sean.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you
Cool,
for having me on, man.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.